Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, while preparing a VAT return for a business, Larissa Feeney realised that her client did not place any value on where she was completing the work from. This sparked the idea for a fully remote accountancy service, which now employs 75 people and has almost 1,000 clients. Having rebranded as Kinore earlier this year, Larissa joins us now to discuss the continued success of this remote service. Larissa, you previously joined us on Business Matters 2 years ago to discuss your business at the time, Accountant Online. The business has since rebranded as Kinore, but how has the company progressed since we last spoke?
Good morning, Karl. I'm delighted to be here again. Well, things have been going really well, Karl. As you say, the company rebranded earlier this year. The company has been growing for the last couple of years, so we currently have a team of about 75 people. The team is a remote first team, so the team are based right across the island of Ireland, and we have a small team in South Africa and a small team in India.
And what inspired you to start the business, and how has your vision evolved since founding it?
Well, I started the business way back in 2011, and really, I never set out to start a business. I certainly never set out to employ a team of people. And it really was very, very organic at the beginning, Karl. There was no strategy. Essentially, where it started from was I remember I was working for a company as an accountant, but I used to do a couple of bits and pieces for local people in the evening. And I remember sitting down one very dark winter's night, and I remember saying to my husband, this particular businessman doesn't care where I am whenever I do I think it was VAT at the time, whenever I do his VAT, as long as it gets done well and on time and all of that. And my husband said to me, God, he said, there's something in that. And that was the start of it. I mean, it was that recognition that you didn't have to be in an office in bricks and mortar premises to provide great service. You could actually do it remotely, and the client didn't mind as long as the client's needs were met. So that's where it started from, and it grew very organically at the beginning, up until the company received investment in 2017.
Was it your vision from the outset that you were going to focus on startup businesses? Because it's well known within the industry that it's very difficult to get somebody to change accountant.
Yes, so that was as a result of the investment that came in 2017. We were able to allocate some resources to marketing, and I had never had a dedicated marketing team or marketing skill or marketing resources before that. And I'm not a marketing person at all. I'm an accountant. So really, they're two very, very different disciplines. So we were able to bring in the marketing skill. And it was over that time, through several discussions and a lot of trial and error, that we realised that if we were to acquire clients online, that it was the best time to get them is when they're either considering starting a business or they're just about to start a business. And we could tailor a lot of the content around answering the questions that brand new business owners had. And that's what we did.
And I know that one very specific and successful strategy that you deployed at the time was by setting up a business formation service for startups. And that led to an awful lot of traction in that space for you, didn't it?
That's it. That's exactly right. We are very active in the company formation space, and that really helps us to not just acquire company formation clients, but then also to introduce them to the requirements in terms of compliance and introduce them to the accountancy services and the other services that we offer. But it's where we're very active in educating the individual at that point whenever because it can be quite daunting, whenever they're trying to think of, okay, I want to start a business, but what do I do and how do I do it? And we help them navigate that.
Something else that was very successful for you as well was webinars. What are the most in-demand webinar topics?
Well, we've been running webinars now for, it must be 7 years or more. And really, there's two that are probably the most popular. So the first one is what we call the business growth webinar. So those are webinars for businesses that are a bit more established. So SMEs, the very traditional SMEs, or maybe the not so traditional SMEs, but they could be thinking about things like pensions for themselves or for their team. They could be thinking about exit. They could be thinking about HR or legal, or how best to maximise efficiencies online, or any of those topics. Those are really popular. And then the other really popular one is the one we call the startup webinar. So the ones that the individual that again is just thinking of starting out and they're unsure whether to go, for example, sole trade or a limited company. So they're two very different places. These individuals are in two very different places, and we try to answer the questions that they have at their stage of business.
Kinore currently has 900 limited company clients. Provide us with a profile of those.
All of these clients are very comfortable working online. They're spread across many different industries and sectors. Generally speaking, they've either come to us as startups and they've grown with us, or they've come to us because they've experienced the pain in their business. So say, for example, Karl, if a business is wholly reliant on one individual, they might say, we had a case recently, second generation business that came to us. They were wholly reliant on one lady in their entire finance function. And this lady had been in the business for 30 years. She was highly trusted and highly valued member of the team. But the board identified that the company there was a little bit of a risk there if anything happened to her. And so they came to us and they decided to outsource some services to us. So those are the types of clients that we tend to attract.
Over the years, have you seen many online accountancy firms coming into the market to compete against you?
No, not really. It was always something that I thought would happen, but I haven't really seen. There's been a few, definitely been a few. There's been a couple over the years that have done something similar to what we've done. But generally speaking, most will have the in-person presence, and they'd offer services online as well. You know, we're remote first. We're intentionally remote. That means that everything we do is based around remote delivery of services and the remote team. And we have to be very focused on that. And I use that word intentional because it takes a lot of our resources to make sure that we do that really, really well. It can't be done in an ad hoc way. So there's nobody that I know of in Ireland doing that. There is some in the UK.
And what was your reason for rebranding Accountant Online to Kinore?
So Accountant Online was great and we all loved it. The challenge we had was that our clients started to grow and expand. And the Accountant Online brand didn't necessarily represent all of the services that we were delivering to our clients. So, for example, we would do not just accounts, but we would do company secretarial services, digital transformation services, cloud services. And so the brand didn't reflect the entirety of our offering. And a couple of years ago, we decided to go on a journey where we just asked the question of our stakeholders, you know, our clients, our board, our team, you know, what do you think of the brand and should we do a refresh or what does it mean to you? And the feedback was very clear. The feedback was the brand needs to be updated and we need to look at what it represents and what it's telling the market and our clients and our prospects about what we currently do. So we went through a bit of a process. We brought in a brand strategist. We did a lot of work around our message, our voice, our values. We worked together as a team and then we decided to rebrand. So we actually ended up getting 64 potential brand names from the team. That was whittled down to 3 and we ended up with Kinore.
When it comes to your own clients, what are the big challenges facing them today and what did they think of the recent budget announcement?
Well, the major challenges facing them today, I think a lot of our clients would talk about the challenges around recruiting people. That has been a consistent theme that I have heard over the last couple of years. And the second thing I hear, and it is related to the budget, is the cost of doing business, Karl. So, I mean, any of your listeners that are in, you know, any business, any industry, but particularly hospitality and retail, those two have been impacted the most, I think, will complain and will report on an increase in the cost of doing business. And they just really weren't supported in the budget. There was very little for them in the way of help or assistance, to try to alleviate some of that pain. And that's really what we hear.
And from a recruiting perspective, what have some of your more creative clients done to overcome that challenge?
Oh, I think I've heard everything, you know, over the last couple of years. Clients have really gone to extraordinary lengths. I mean, the obvious one is anybody who can work or offer remote work does. That's the clear winner, you know, from an employee perspective. And for a lot of employers, not all employers, but if you can work remotely or in a hybrid method, that seems to be the way to go. Flexibility is the other thing, is you can offer any kind of flexibility to your team. it seems to give you a little bit of a USP. For those business owners in sectors where remote work is not possible, I've seen everything from houses been purchased, where businesses have purchased houses in locations so that they can get their team there, because obviously housing is another big issue. I've seen businesses pay for talent to come into the country from other countries and pay for relocation costs, and again pay for housing in order to make that happen. I've seen businesses pay over and above in terms of what they would expect to pay in terms of salary, and give extra in terms of benefits and in an overall remuneration package. That can be dangerous, though, Karl, because it sets the precedent, obviously, for the future. But I have seen businesses do that.
And of course, as you mentioned yourself earlier, you have some of your own team based in South Africa and India. And I know some of the large accountancy firms, some of the big four, are actually tapping into staffing solutions from the Philippines as well. How is that working out for you?
It works really well. We've worked with a team in India for, I'm going to say, 6 or 7 years now. And the South African team are a recent addition, perhaps over the last 2 years or so. It works extraordinarily well. There's very clear processes in place around data security and cybersecurity in particular. And, you have to be very clear around expectations and delivery, things like that. Nothing that you wouldn't expect anyway. But I think it's fair to say that our own team would be lost without them. Karl, they really are an integral part of the team at this point, and they help massively in terms of the delivery of the services to our clients.
And in terms of growth, you currently have 75 staff working in Kinore. I know that you have plans to double the workforce over the coming years. How are you going to achieve that, and what type of roles will be created as a result?
Well, we're going to achieve that through a variety of different ways. The main one will be through the growth of the business in general and the growth of the various different services that we offer. The types of skills that we require will vary. Generally speaking, they will be professional, accountancy, payroll, company secretarial, VAT, etc. We will need some support staff, but I think the big addition in terms of compared to what we have right now will be the technical area, IT, digital, automation, robotics. That's where a lot of our new hires will be.
You've been actively involved in supporting female entrepreneurs through initiatives like Acorns. What common challenges did you see early stage entrepreneurs face, and what advice did you give them along the way?
So I've been a lead entrepreneur now on Acorns. I think this is my 5th year. And really the quality of applicants from all around the country, from every county actually in the country this year was unbelievably high. We had a super strong cohort of applications. Now what I've seen through the Acorns programme over the last 4 years is that females entrepreneurs in rural areas, and Acorns is a rural-based programme, so it is for entrepreneurs outside of Dublin, Cork and Galway. And generally speaking, what they need is support. So that support comes in various ways. Obviously, financial support if they're entitled to it. But crucially, the support from their peers is really important for women in business. And that has been common throughout the Acorn cycle and indeed the Going for Growth cycle. That peer-to-peer support really helps a female business owner start her business and grow her business, because she can learn from others. She can see how others have made decisions that have benefited their businesses. She can see how they've dealt with issues and come up against and overcome challenges. And it's that learning from each other that's really crucial to women in business.
Larissa, finally, what advice would you offer to someone considering starting a new business in rural Ireland?
If you think you have an idea that will get traction in the market, that you can generate a good income for yourself or employ a team, you should absolutely give it a go. It might not work, but you won't know until you try. And there is a lot of support out there at the moment, especially for females, in the form of peer-to-peer support, help and mentoring and advice and grants from local enterprise office or from Enterprise Ireland. And they really are there to help. There's a huge amount of support out there at the moment for people who want to start businesses. And if you reach out and access that support, it can really help you to understand that you're not alone. Sometimes, whenever you run a business or start a business, Karl, you can think that you're the only one that's having these issues, but all businesses have the same issues. It doesn't matter what you're selling. The issues are all the same, around team, around cash flow, obligations, product, market fit, etc. They're all the same. They're all common themes or common headings, I should say. common pillars maybe. So, and I think even recognising that and understanding that you can reach out and ask others for help, and others are more than willing to give you their advice. That's the one thing I found over the years, that if you ask for advice, people are so generous, especially people who have gone through it and have built a business and built a team. They're so willing to give back. So I'd absolutely reach out for any support. And if you don't know where to go, your first place to go is the local enterprise office. And if you've accessed that and you're still not sure, then head on to LinkedIn and contact anybody who is growing a business that you want to grow. And if you reach out to them, you'll be surprised how many will be willing to reach for a coffee or to have a call and to chat through some of your issues.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Larissa Feeney from Kinore, and we wish Larissa and the team every continued success as the business continues to grow.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.